Hey, welcome to this lecture on report sharing. Report sharing is the most amazing feature of Google Data Studio, and it is where no other software tool can beat it in terms of simplicity. I think if you have worked with other Google products like Drive or Docs or Sheets, you would know the concept already. On the top here, you have a big share button. Let's click the small drop down arrow beside it to see all the options first. There are 5 options as of now. We have already discussed the download report option in the last lecture. In this video, we will explore the first one, and in subsequent videos, we will also cover the other options as well. So let's click this invite people link. This is the same dialog box which will open up if you straight away click this button. Instead of opening a drop down, if you click this share button, this is the dialog box that will open up. The first option is who are you sharing this link as? So since this report has only one editor, you have only one option here. Else you can choose which profile you want to share this report from. Then there are 2 tabs. First is add people and the other is manage access. We want to add new people, so we'll stay on this tab. Here I'll write the email ID of that person. Now there is one condition, or you can say limitation, to Data Studio, that is you can share it only on a Google account. That is, either this should be a Gmail account or it should be a G Suite account. Otherwise, you will not be able to share that report with this particular person. So I'll enter a Gmail account here. This drop down is for selecting editing or viewing rights. People with viewing rights can only see the report. The view is same as what we see when we click this view button. People with editing rights can edit the report also. They can make changes to the report just like we have been doing till now. So you have to carefully select what rights you want to give to this person. Since this is my account only, I'll choose the editing rights. Ticking this checkbox will mean that when you press send, this person will also get an email saying that you now have access to this report. As a general practice, you should tick this checkbox. And now we can press send. Now if I open this option and click on this manage access tab, you can see the 2 accounts here. The first one is the account with which we have created this report. So this is by default the owner of the report, and this is the account on which we have given the access. And with this drop down, you can change the access rights also. Right now we have given editing access rights. You can change it to viewing access rights. You can also remove the rights completely from this account. And you can also make this account the owner of this report. Apart from this, by default, all people with editing rights can add new people and they can change the access rights of the people as well. If you do not want to give this power to the editors and keep this power with yourself as the owner, you can tick this checkbox to prevent editors from changing access, etc. So I don't mind this user changing the editing access to other users or providing to new users, so I will not tick this checkbox. The second option here is to restrict the viewers from downloading or copying your report. Can be helpful if you have sensitive data. If you make any change on this report, make sure you click on the save button, and once you have clicked save, the changes will be saved. Now we can close this. One important thing to know here is the concept of data sharing credentials for a data source. When we were discussing about data sources in the beginning of this course, I said that we will talk about this when we talk about report sharing. So now is the time to know about data sharing credentials of a data source. Let's open a data source. I'll go to resources, manage edit data sources, and I'll click edit on this bullet.csv data source. Now on the top here, we have the option of data credentials. If you click it, you will see two options. The first is owner's credentials and the second is viewer's credentials. Owner's credentials is selected by default. Simply put, viewer credentials means that the person viewing the report should also have access to the underlying data set. For example, if this data was from a Google Sheet and I shared this report with this other account datastudio.starttech@gmail.com, then datastudio.starttech will be able to access this data source and charts based on this data source only if that account also have access to the underlying Google Sheet. Otherwise, the bullet chart that we built on this data set will not be visible to datastudio.starttech account. This setting works well with Google products like Google Sheets, Google Ad account, etc., where you can give access to the underlying data also and Google can know about it. But for uploaded data files like the CSV files we have here, it basically would result in no one else being able to see it. Owner credentials means that this data source is accessible to people who have access to this report. So people with viewing rights to the report can see all the charts built on this dataset, and people with editing access can use this data source to make new charts also. So this is the use of data credential options. If the underlying data as well as the charts based on that data are too confidential or too sensitive, you should select this viewer credentials here. Else, in my view, best option is to keep it as owner's credentials and share the report sensitively. So when you are sharing the report, be careful, but keep the data source as owner's credentials. The last thing in this lecture is your tasks. You have to share viewing rights to report with us on this email ID that I showed you earlier, datastudio.starttech@gmail.com. With this, I will be able to see what you have done and how creative you have been. Although it doesn't matter, you can complete the course either way and get the certificate. But if you share your report, it will give me confidence that you were able to follow along with the lectures. Plus, if you have any questions, I can answer them better if I see your report and it is shared with me. Apart from this, also try this. Give viewing or editing rights to another email ID of yours. Change the data credentials to viewer credentials for one particular data source and check out from that email ID that whether you are able to see the corresponding chart built on that particular data source. You'll see an error. I want you to see what error comes in place of that chart. That's all. Long lecture, but an important one. I hope you do your tasks and I'll see you in the next one.